to speak with you about studying at St. Francis Xavier University and essentially provide you with the information, tools, and resources so you can help advise your students to make sure they're finding a right fit at studying at St. Francis Xavier University. So we have a presentation here that we're going to go through today. It's going to cover essentially all things St. FX 101, from who we are, where we're located, our academic programs, residence life and campus life, admissions, how to apply, and tuition and scholarship information. And essentially, this can be a resource for you as you're advising students throughout the year. So we can share this presentation with you when we are finished. So that way you can essentially use it as a resource and a guide, just to make sure you're always, St. FX is kind of always top of mind. I did say St. FX. Our name is St. Francis Xavier University. By short, we go by St. FX. So we are located in Nova Scotia, which is on the east coast of Canada. It would be approximately a 2-hour flight from Toronto, Ontario, or New York City. So you're going up on the east coast. And when you fly into Halifax, which is the capital city of Nova Scotia, you would drive around 2 hours to get to the university. And we are located in a small town called Antigonish. And the population is around 4,500 people in the immediate town. And then I'd say about 15 to 20,000 in the larger community and like extended like country living. It's kind of a university town. So essentially the university is in the heart of the community and all life kind of revolves around the university. So it's very much a destination school for students coming from all across Canada and around the world. They're essentially moving into this small university town and living and learning together. And with that, our student population at St. FX is around 4,500 students. So essentially when September starts for like our main intake, the town population doubles in size. And there's a very, very like warm and welcoming sense when you come to Antigonish that students like they're wanted here. They're the like heart and life of the community, and they provide a lot of diversity and just like the population itself for the community. And so we really thrive on that. And like I said, the university is around 2 hours from Halifax, which is an international airport. And students can either like take the bus or hop in a cab and drive to the campus. But we welcome students from around 46 countries. Like Karuna said, we have students from like Mauritius, China, India, Mexico, Ecuador, like all over the world. So we are a very warm and welcoming place, and we're kind of known for East Coast hospitality. So if you're a student at the grocery store and you're sitting and waiting for a taxi to take you back to residence, someone might offer you a ride home just because they're going that way. Or if you're walking down the street and you look like you need to cross the road and you're not at a crosswalk, cars will stop and let you go through. It's just kind of like a student-centric learning and living environment. So it's a really great place to welcome students and kind of build that sense of community. So we're going to head into the academic portion of the presentation, and I'm just going to try to get my slides working. And this is a snapshot of what the university looks like in relation to the town. So the campus itself is essentially in one block, and you have everything from residences, dorms, to a fitness facility, and like there's your dining hall, we call meal hall, cafes like Starbucks, library, all the academic facilities, swimming pool, soccer, rugby, football pitches. And then the town itself is just a 5-minute walk from campus. And then you can also see that the ocean is so close. So we are surrounded by some of the warmest beaches in North America. There's a lot of green space, a lot of farmland, and students can really get out and go enjoy this green space by going for a run, hiking, or we take students on trips, and whether it's to the beach or doing something very Nova Scotian. It's a really beautiful place to live. And so like when you study at St. FX, essentially like we try and promote the small class sizes, the professor and student interaction, and just the engaging experience. So for undergraduate classes, the average class size would be around 34 students in a class. So this provides a really great learning environment for students to be present, be interactive, get to know their professors, and really engage with their classmates in the content and discussion. And then our professors are teaching every single one of our classes. So 96% of them have a PhD. They teach full time, and when they're not teaching, they're doing research, which is also opportunities for students to get involved in like essentially high level research at the undergraduate and graduate level. And there's a lot of applied learning opportunities for students with that research. We have undergraduate research here, but there's also research at the graduate level. And it's a really great opportunity for students to build those critical thinking and analytical skills. And whether they want to go on to graduate school or go into employment, any of the programs at St. FX will set students up for a postgraduate work permit. So there's a lot of opportunities for growth beyond the university. And so now we're going to introduce you to the academic programs for undergraduate and graduate studies. And Brittany's going to introduce us to the initial undergrad programs.
Thanks, Erica. So I'm going to go through some of our undergraduate academics with you all. So to start, we have several different disciplines that we're focusing on. Within the arts, science, business, we have a unique blend of Bachelor of Arts and Science. And then we do have education and graduate programs as well. Within these disciplines, we've got all kinds of different majors and minors that students can take, and I'll talk a little bit more about those. We also have some really unique opportunities called first year experiences, and you can look at those as a foundation program, really. So for example, we have something called the Humanities Colloquium. It's a really unique program where it's a collection of 3 academic courses here at St. FX. They're all taught collaboratively with different professors. But essentially you get to learn about a lot of the same things, but from different perspectives. So it's essentially like one course, but each course is just covering something a little bit different, all tied together under the same theme. The same can be said for the Social Justice Colloquium as well. Learning from different courses throughout the first year, but from different faculty members and different perspectives. And one of the great things about these programs is that because they're taught collaboratively, we ensure that our students are not having any conflicts when it comes to assignments, exams, anything like that. And it's a really great way to get into those first year courses and really try to identify what it is that students are interested in and kind of get your feet wet figuring that out. So it's a 1-year experience. And then when students complete that first year, they can move on to major in one of those particular courses, or they can certainly go on to major in something completely different as well. And then we have a few programs that we like to highlight as well. And these are some of our more notable programs here at St. FX. The first being one of our newer ones, the Applied Forensic Psychology program. So this is a really unique program in that it's offered from a interdisciplinary perspective. Students can do it from the Bachelor of Arts or the Bachelor of Science. And it does have a strong focus on the applied part. So there are hands-on learning opportunities for students in this program. We have had students that will visit different facilities here in Nova Scotia, like correctional facilities. They've gone to trials before and things like that. So it's a really unique program in that you get that hands-on experience. And because you can look at it from both the arts and the science, our students will be getting different experiences depending on which course they choose. So within the arts, you would be surrounding your forensic psych courses with arts, in particular arts courses. But then within the sciences, you can be taking some of your more traditional sciences and maths as well. We also have the post-baccalaureate diploma program, which we will talk a little bit more about. But just to start, it's a 2-year program and it's offered in 2 different disciplines. So both artificial intelligence and enterprise IT management. And these programs are typically September start programs, but they are 2-year programs for students after they've completed an undergraduate degree. And finally, our Master of Applied Computer Science, which has gained a lot of popularity over the last few years. It's a 2-year course-based master's program. It is a competitive program, so we do get a lot of applications each year. So the earlier students apply, it's certainly the better. And we will talk a little bit further about that course as well. So I mentioned different disciplines that we offer at St. FX. Within the Faculty of Arts, we've got a lot of your traditional liberal arts programs here. We've also got some that are a little bit more unique to St. FX, like Celtic Studies. We have actuarial science. We have a really great program called Public Policy and Governance, Human Kinetics, which is also interdisciplinary, and women's and gender studies offered. So our students would come to St. FX. Their first year would be a blend of intro level courses that they choose themselves. We encourage our students to ensure that they're taking courses that they're interested in, and a variety of different courses. And in most of our programs at St. FX, you don't choose your major until the end of your second year. So the first year is really meant to be a discovery period for students, just identifying what really interests them. And then when they get into their second year, they can kind of narrow that focus down a little bit. So that's some of the high level programs within the arts. And then within the Faculty of Science, we also have a few notable opportunities for students. So there are those traditional sciences, your biology, chemistry, physics. We also have some unique ones like human nutrition, human kinetics, nursing, and engineering. These programs are a little bit more on the professional side, so some of those will require higher averages, but really great opportunities for students when they have a clear understanding of what they want to do upon graduation. And then within the Faculty of Business, we have a variety of different majors available. Business also works the same way as our other programs, where you do general courses to begin, and then you choose your major at the end of your second year. And here are a lot of the majors, and we also do offer a minor in sport management as well, which is unique to St. FX and one of our newer minors that are offered. The arts and science program that we offer is something that is relatively new at St. FX, and it's a really great option for students who really haven't decided if they want to go in the arts direction or the science direction. It really blends those two faculties together. So for students who are interested in the health side, this is a great course if you have students who are interested in a pathway to medical school. There's a biomedical stream for students, and it really gives them the foundation they need to get into medical school here in Canada. So it's not always just about the science courses, but also combining a lot of those liberal arts courses that develop critical thinking and analytical skills. So this particular stream will certainly offer those students that pathway. And it's a really interdisciplinary approach to health. The other major that we offer is the social determinants in equity and health. The other arts and science option we offer is in climate and environment. So students can choose the concentration that they want, and it's a really great option. We all know that this is a really hot topic here, really globally right now, and really getting that opportunity to do hands-on research and hands-on opportunities outside of the classroom. And that's one of the great things about St. FX is that not only are you learning a lot within the classroom and having those meaningful conversations, but you're also getting that experience outside of the classroom as well. So the picture on this page is part of some of our students from the climate and environment program getting opportunities to go out into the field and really understand some of the issues that are happening globally within climate and environment. I'll pass this back over to Erica to talk about the graduate programs.
Thanks, Brittany. So St. FX, we offer undergraduate and graduate programs. The graduate programs that we would promote to students would be course-based. So we have a Bachelor of Education, which would be 2 years study on campus, and students can study to become either a primary, middle school or secondary teacher within Canadian curriculum. So they would do up to 4 placements in the local classrooms. So that way they're getting teacher and work experience during the program. And I think it's like around 86% of our teachers who graduate from the Bachelor of Education programs are getting jobs with like by the time they graduate. So it's a really sought after field, and they're really well educated in this program. And then we have a Master's of Applied Computer Science. Some of you have probably recruited students to this program. It's very, very popular. It is a 2-year course-based master's program where students would be going into it with a sound understanding of computer science, and they have the opportunity to do a co-op education program in the Max program, and it's eligible for that postgraduate work permit. And then we also have the diploma programs that Brittany had mentioned previously in artificial intelligence, which would fall under essentially computer science and science faculty. And then enterprise systems, which falls under the business school. So both programs include a co-op education opportunity. Both are 2 years and are eligible for that postgraduate work permit. Essentially, they're really designed for students who have any background. So you could have a Bachelor of Arts degree and apply to artificial intelligence or enterprise systems. It's a lot more flexible for students looking to maybe change career paths or just pursue like something that they've always had a lifelong interest in. My slides. So here's a little bit more details on the post-baccalaureate diplomas. The artificial intelligence program is essentially designed for students who have a degree in anything other than computer science, and they're looking to learn how AI is currently used and develop the skills that would be necessary to work in that field. It does have that experiential learning opportunity with the co-op program, and students are essentially learning how to solve problems both within like the AI industry and academia. And then with the enterprise IT management, that falls more under the business side. It's really working with like systems to help businesses solve IT problems. So you're essentially designing, deploying, and managing enterprise systems within organizations to help find solutions within IT. And it does include co-op, as mentioned. And then the Masters of Applied Computer Science, it's very, very popular, very competitive. It does have a bit of a unique admissions process as opposed to the other programs, which are essentially just direct entry. As long as you apply and meet the requirements, you will be admitted. The Applied Computer Science program is really competitive, and we are trying to find students attracted to this program from really all over the world. So if you have students interested in this, we really welcome applications. It's structured to be 2 years. It does include that co-op option, and it's structured so that essentially they're solving real world problems within the 2-year program. They're working really closely with faculty in computer science. And then it's eligible for that postgraduate work permit, like I said. So with the admissions process, essentially we do batches of admissions assessments. They are reviewed by a committee of faculty members. So students will apply. They have to have a degree in computer science. They can either be in their senior year of study, so graduating prior to the course start date, or a recent grad. Then we're looking for essentially their work experience, letters of reference from faculty or employers, and a statement of intent to express like why they're interested in studying in this program. And we're trying to find students who have the best fit based on their English language proficiency, based on their academic experience with their majors and the courses that they've covered, to make sure that they will transition well into our graduate program. And we'll check the universities that they've applied to. So it is a very like holistic admissions process. And when a student applies, they'll have their application assessed in a batch of applications like with other students, and faculty will make the decision on who they'll be admitting into the program. So usually this is like a 6-week process from the time a student applies to receiving an offer. And we essentially open applications like October 1st up until May 30th, and then we'll be making offers every month. And if a student that does apply for the Max program, as we like to call it, and maybe they're just not the right fit, we can also recommend a post-baccalaureate diploma as another option if they're really keen on coming to St. FX to study in one of those graduates programs. So, all right, now we're going to transition to life on campus. So you get to see and learn a little bit about what it would be like for a typical student studying at St. FX in their day-to-day and everything they can get involved in. We talk a lot about like building community and helping students feel welcome. So that living and learning experience is a really big piece of studying at St. FX.
So living on campus is one of the real highlights here in Antigonish. And the reason why is because we are a small university, which means we're a small campus. You really don't have to go that far to find something exciting and interesting to do. We offer a lot of those opportunities here on the campus itself or within the community. So for example, about 90% of our first year students are living here on campus. And that's really great for really transitioning into St. FX, into the community, understanding where things are located on campus and really getting familiar with your environment. And within living on campus, you also have lots of opportunities to do things like working on campus. So students are eligible to work on or off campus, but we do have a lot of opportunities right here on the campus itself. So for example, we have students that are working with catering staff, students who are working with event staff. So you can, within working in that group, you also get to go to some of the athletic events. We have students doing campus security, campus tours for prospective students that are looking at options for university, research opportunities, and many more. So lots and lots of opportunities for students to work. And like we have on here, 1 in 4 students do work here on campus. We have a sports complex and club sports available. So it's great for students who want to get involved and stay healthy. Lots of options for just doing some things just to keep active and keep moving. We also have a health and counseling center here on campus. So if there are any issues that students run into during the school year, they have access to health and counseling right here on campus, and they don't have to worry about traveling far to get any support. We have a lot of amenities here on campus, like an art gallery and a live theater. So like I said, you really don't have to go that far to find something really exciting and fun to do. We have a student success center. So for students who might be struggling with some of the requirements and demands in their courses, they can go and visit the Student Success Center. So for example, if you were in a course and you're writing a paper and some of the requirements for citing or layouts for writing your paper is a bit confusing or just not understood, you can visit the Student Success Center and speak with someone there about what props might be looking for, how you can best set yourself up so that you can do a lot of these things on your own moving forward and really just get the support that you need, both academically and personally as well. And one of the great things we have here on campus is clubs and societies. So outside of the classroom, you want to be able to get involved in things that interest your students. So when you're talking to your students about what you can do on a small campus, make sure you let them know that there are much more opportunities outside the classroom. So things like reading or community involvement. If you have an interest in chemistry, skiing, if you want to learn to skate, anything like that, we have all kinds of clubs that are available to students. And some of them are more on the active side, some are more on the academic side, and some are just for fun. So if you like skydiving and you want to get a group of students, like-minded individuals together, you can certainly do that on campus. And we do have the international office, which is where Eric and I are located. So we work with our study abroad coordinator, and we also work with our international student advisor as well. So when students get to campus, they'll get to meet all of us in the international office and just know that we are there to support them. So those are some of the things that are available on the campus itself to do. And we also have co-op, and I did notice that there was a question there in the chat about co-op. So there is paid opportunities for students. Co-op typically takes place between 3rd and 4th year. So you would be able to get a placement within that. So you almost take a little bit of a break from your studies to do your co-op. It can be 12 to 16 months, depending on what you're doing and what your field is. A lot of those opportunities are offered within art, science, business, max, PPD. So every discipline really offers something for co-op. I will say that a lot of the placements that are available within the business program, but you can use that experience to move forward in your career after you graduate as well. So in the past, we have had students who have done the co-op program, worked with a company, come back to finish their studies and had a job waiting for them upon graduation. So that is always an opportunity for students interested in the co-op as well. You really get an opportunity to make connections, both with employers and other companies within Canada or even throughout the world as well. And we have this great new building, which is actually where Erica and I are located right now. You can't really tell from the white in the background, but this is the Brian Mulroney Institute of Governance. This building is designed for students who are interested in the Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy and Governance. So those students who really have an interest in government. But the great thing about this building is that Brian Mulroney really took the lead on funding for this particular program. And he is the former Prime Minister of Canada and the former graduate of St. FX as well. So not only is this a facility available to students within the public policy program, but it's also available for students in any discipline, as we have many classrooms within the building and all courses are taught here. There's fantastic study spaces here in the building as well. It is state-of-the-art technology. All of the different floors have different exciting things that you can check out. We have on one of the floors, the former office, kind of a makeup of what Brian Mulroney's office looked like when he was the Prime Minister, and lots of different nooks that you can look in with lots of history about different governments within Canada and the world as well. And we also have athletics here on campus too. So for students who are interested in keeping active, we have a pool here on campus that is available to both students and community members as well. There's a skating rink. So if you have any students that really want to learn how to skate, we have opportunities for that. There's a dance studio and basketball courts. We do have a full gym that's available again for community and staff and faculty and students. So there's lots of different ways to get involved and stay active and keep a healthy mind as well, because that's really important for students when they're studying abroad. We also have opportunities for athletics as well. So if you have a student who is more of a high performing athlete that's interested in doing any varsity sports, we have them all listed here on the slide. So there's anything from basketball, cross country, hockey, rugby, track and field. We've got a lot of opportunities. We do have our coaching staff who are scouting throughout the year. Sometimes there are opportunities for walk-on tryouts as well. But if your students are interested in playing varsity athletics, you can let us know and we'll connect them with the right people. And then we'll pass this back over to Erica to talk a little bit about the residence experience, which is of course a very important part of the undergraduate and graduate experience for our students.
Thanks, Brittany. As Brittany was mentioning, residence life is a huge component of studying and like living and learning at St. FX. And since we are primarily a residential campus, 90% of students are living on campus. So they move into the dorms for like orientation week, which will be the end of August this year. And they're living and learning with students from all over Canada and all over the world. So if a student might be coming to campus with a friend, they can also request to live with their friend as a roommate. So there's different styles of rooms. There's single rooms, double rooms. That means just like one bed, two beds. Some have like more of a shared apartment. So there could be four bedrooms in an apartment with a common area, suite style, so more of like a fancy individual bachelor style apartment. There's really something for everyone, but we try to provide a community space for students of all backgrounds and experiences to come and find like that they have this like home away from home. And when you're living on campus, you have access to our dining hall, where students can have all of their meals like breakfast, lunch, dinner. And in the dining hall itself, there's a kitchen where it's kind of like we call it like my pantry or my kitchen. So it's access for students to cook their own food, but they can make grocery orders. And the groceries will be like restocked and filled in the kitchen. So they have access to that as part of their meal plan. And there's a lot of different types of meals kind of for every every person, whatever your interests are in food. And if you have any dietary restrictions or allergies, we do have a dietitian on campus. You can kind of have access and adjust your meal plans based on any restrictions or preferences you have. And it's also living on campus when you go to meal hall, when you live in residence, it kind of creates this really nice community outside of the classroom. So you see people that in your classes, your classmates, but then you can also see them in residence, and it provides a space for students to get involved in all of those different activities that Brittany had mentioned, whether it's joining like a student union or playing intramural sports or going to the clubs and societies. You kind of build those friendships from the people that you're in class with, but you're also living with. But we do also realize that there's some students who don't want that residence experience. And sometimes it might be a student might be in a graduate program or a student who already had that residence life experience. There is off-campus housing, and we can work with students to help find like opportunities available for them and provide them with some resources on best places to check out for the off-campus housing. And because we are a small town, if a student does live off campus, it could be like a 5 to 10 minute walk to actually get to classes on campus. So they're not going to be excluded from anything happening on campus by choosing to live off campus. And we did talk a little bit about like our international office and how we support students. So like Brittany mentioned, her and myself are part of the international office. We do admissions for students. So we'll be working with you, and we work with ACHIM all the time closely on applications. So making sure students submit the right documentation and that they have everything in to have a successful application. We also work with a study abroad advisor who runs our exchange and international partnership program, and an international student advisor who's working to become a regulated immigration advisor, or RISIA. And our office has actually been ranked by our students in relation to universities around the world and across Canada as the #1 international office in the country and #6 in the world for supporting students and making sure that they have all the supports they need, from social, emotional, academic, lifestyle supports. And within our office, we do provide a lot of resources for students that range from orientation that will happen in like August, September for September classes, and in January for our January intake. We have an international student society, so students can get together with other international students to do organized events and also run for like executive positions to represent the international student body with the rest of campus. We help organize the health insurance for international students so that they have all the medical coverage that they need to feel safe and supported when they're living abroad. And we'll put on workshops for students to get to know how to apply for their postgraduate work permit and what some pathways to permanent residency may look like, and also highlight some partnerships that we have with local organizations and bodies to essentially help students promote themselves and get involved and network with local employers so that potentially they can build a network connection for when they graduate to find a job in Nova Scotia in their field, which again, like helps with their PR. And then we also like to have fun. So we'll do some activities and trips, and we've taken students around the province so they get to see really beautiful sites outside of the current community. For example, we've taken students recently to a maple sugar farm where you learn how maple syrup is created, take it from the trees, how it goes from essentially farm to table. And we've taken students to Cape Breton Islands, which is just one of the most beautiful islands in the world. And Halifax, so they can do all the shopping that they need to do, because shopping is a little limited in the small town of Antigonish. But yeah, we like to have fun, but we want to make sure students feel supported from the time they submit an application to even when they graduate and become an alumni. So just to know, like when your students come, they will have the best international office in Canada supporting them 365 days of the year. And so now we're going to transition over to admissions, and we are going to break it up into undergraduate admissions and graduate. And Brittany's going to kick it off first with the undergraduate admissions.
Yeah, so I know there's been some questions in the chat coming in regarding admissions. So thank you so much for all those questions and just for being patient. I'm going to go over the undergraduate admission requirements and we'll go over the general ones, but just know that if there are specific questions, we'll be happy to answer those via email or afterwards as well. So to start, we look at the academic transcript in a Canadian percentage, so in a Canadian curriculum. So typically what we do, which is what a lot of schools would do, is our minimum average would be a 70% in grade 12 with no mark below 65%. For each country that we're working with students coming from that country, we'll translate that into a specific grade scale that they're using as well. So we have our own internal scales that we have to ensure that students are coming curriculum they're coming from, we can equitably translate that back into a Canadian grade. And we know that that's different for every country. So we thought it would be best just to cover the minimum averages from a Canadian perspective. So like I said, a 70% in grade 12, no mark below 65 is what's required. The admissions can be limited enrollment in certain programs. So for example, something like a nursing program, human kinetics, which is a very popular program, those require higher averages. So if a student applies with the minimum requirement, it doesn't guarantee that they will be accepted into the program. They may be, but it will depend on the students that are applying, and it can be a little bit more competitive for programs like that. For the specific programs, each program will have a different requirement. So for example, if you have students applying for business, we're looking for English 12, Math 12, and then 3 other academic grade 12 courses. So if the student hasn't taken math, for example, in their senior year, it will be required. So they would not be eligible for that particular program. But if they are able to pick up that particular course, then we can look at ways to ensure that they're eligible. For something like a Bachelor of Science, we're looking for English, we're looking for 2 sciences. And when we say sciences, we're looking at those traditional sciences, chemistry, physics, biology. Students will need to have a higher level math or pre-calculus, calculus, and then 2 additional grade 12 level courses. So it can vary depending on the program that the student is applying to. If you have questions, we try to keep our website as up to date as we can. But Erica and I are also available at any point for emails, or if students have questions, or if maybe they don't meet the requirements and need some opportunities of how they could do that. We'll certainly work with you and your students to ensure that's possible. We do accept all of the national curriculums as well, international curriculums, sorry. So IB diploma programs, the minimum of 24 points. But again, if you're applying to a limited enrollment program, it may be a little bit higher. And then for students coming from programs like IB, AP, or A-level courses, they may be eligible for transfer credit, and that will depend on the program they're applying to, the courses they've taken, and the grades that they've gotten in those courses. So it can just vary depending on what the student's background is. So that's from an undergraduate perspective. And I do like to focus a little bit more on nursing as well, because this is one of our more competitive programs. Not all universities in Canada will accept nursing, international nursing applicants. So we do accept students both domestically and internationally. And if you're familiar with some other schools here in Nova Scotia, not all of them will accept international applications. So I feel like it is helpful to know the specifics of the nursing program. This program is one of our more competitive ones. So we do it as a batch. The deadline to apply is March 1st. So students have to have their application, their transcript with most up-to-date marks, the first semester transcript or most up-to-date marks by this date. It's important that students have English, math, biology, chemistry, and 1 additional grade 12 or senior level course. There's also a requirement called CASPER. CASPER is like an online aptitude test, and students have to sign up for that test on the CASPER website itself. They're only offered at certain times throughout the year. So it is really important for students to make sure that they know when those CASPER tests are being offered, because if they do miss the deadline, if they miss taking that test, we can't offer an alternative date. It is all through the Casper website, and it is required to be eligible for the nursing program. And that particular score is sent directly from Casper to us, and it's not typically released to students. So that score comes to us, and we use that Casper score along with their academic transcript to assess for admission into the nursing program. So that was the 4-year degree program in nursing that I talked about. We do also have a 2-year accelerated option. So this particular program would be for students who have done a year of study already. They may be eligible to do more of like a fast track option. They do have a requirement. So they do have May 1st to apply. There's a minimum average of 70 with no mark below 65. Keep in mind that is a minimum. It does not guarantee that that's the marks that will get them into the program. So we would recommend higher averages. And there are some requirements from their first year that they need to have. So they need to have 6 credits in approved human anatomy and human physiology course. They need microbiology, English, and statistics. And then the other 15 credits can be from a variety of different courses. So they're called open electives. So 30 credits minimum to apply for that program. Again, we do accept both domestic and international applications. A Casper test is required, and this particular program begins in January of every year. So it is a different intake than the 4-year nursing option. And we ask students to apply for one or the other. It's not a combined, I'll apply for one and hope to get into at least one of them. We do ask you to choose one to apply to. And that's a little bit about undergraduate admissions, including nursing, which we always find is a bit more complicated. So it's good to cover. And I'm going to pass it over to Erica to talk a little bit more about the graduate admission requirements.
Great, thanks. So for the graduate admission requirements, we have the Masters of Applied Computer Science, the postbaccalaureate diplomas in artificial intelligence, and the other in enterprise IT management. So for the applied computer science, the MAX program, we do require a 4-year undergraduate degree in computer science or equivalent. Sometimes schools might have a different name for these, essentially the same major. And we're looking for a minimum overall average of 70% from like the CGPA, so all 4 years of study. This is a Canadian 70%. So when your students apply, we will convert their grading scale from their country to the Canadian grading scale to make sure it meets that 70% threshold. When students apply to this program, they are also required to submit 2 letters of reference, typically from a professor or an employer, depending whether if they're in school or have they've been graduated for a period of time, whatever is relevant for them. A statement of intent, essentially sharing information on why they think they would be a good fit for the program, an English proficiency test, and sometimes students might squeeze in a CV, a curriculum vitae, just to show the additional skills and opportunities that they've been involved in outside of the classroom. When we ask for documentation for these programs, we do require official transcripts for like all undergraduate and graduate programs. But specifically with graduate students, we do also need a copy of their provisional degree certificate. If they are currently enrolled in their senior year study, then we just need their most recent transcript showing whatever semester they are in. And then with the PBD in artificial intelligence, we need a 4-year degree or equivalent in a field other than computer science. So it could be business, arts, kind of anything you name it, except for computer science. But a key feature is that the student must have completed one course, like 1 3-credit course in a computer science course that would be a programming language. So it could be C++, Python, Java, computer programming, anything that kind of falls in within that realm. And those would be the requirements with a 70% CGPA, so over the 4 year of study. And we're also checking to make sure students have taken a statistics course in their undergraduate degree, because it is a requirement for graduation from the AI program. So if they did not take statistics, that's okay. They just would need to enroll in that within their first year of the program. And then with the PBD and enterprise IT management, it requires a 4-year degree in any field. There's no specifics or limitations here. And the only difference is that the minimum average for admission must be 70% from their final year of study. So we're not looking at the 4 years like we were at the other two programs, just 70% in the last year. And then we have the Bachelor of Education. So this one has a requirement of an undergraduate degree, ideally in arts, science, or human kinetics or equivalent, based on a student's major or minor that they've taken in their undergraduate degree would kind of dictate what their specialty areas would be for teaching. So for me, I have a bachelor's of arts in history and sociology as my majors. So if I was to go into secondary education, my specialty teaching areas would be social studies and probably like English and the like literature areas. But if you have a degree in biology and mathematics, then that you'd be more of like a science teacher, if that makes sense. And a minimum, again, of 70% average. This is a really competitive program, kind of like the Masters of Applied Computer Science. So we are looking for reference letters. And then if you are identified as an ideal candidate, then there would be an interview process. The Bachelor's of Education does have a different application deadline, which is typically in like January, February. So if you do have a student interested in that program, you can just kind of just reach out separately, just because it is usually one of a few that are interested in it, and we can provide some specific information. And for admissions into all of our programs, we do require an English proficiency test to be provided unless the student is currently taking the International Baccalaureate program, the Cambridge Advanced Levels, or an American curriculum. So for IELTS, that's usually the most common one students submit. We would need a 6.5 overall with no band lower than 6.0. We also accept the TOEFL IBT Home Edition and the regular IBT. So we're looking for 90 with no lower than 20 in each band. The next popular one that we see students submitting is the Cambridge Advanced and Proficiency. So a minimum score of 180 with 170 in each band. If a student does submit, say an IELTS with a 6 or 5, or there's a 6.5, but a band is below the minimum requirement for undergraduate courses or post-baccalaureate diplomas, we would admit them into our English for Academic Purposes program. So this is essentially an English language bridging program for students to achieve their undergraduate or post-baccalaureate diploma. You can't apply to it directly. You're essentially, a student would be admitted into it based on us assessing their English proficiency scores. So if a student is scoring around an IELTS 5, they'd be admitted to the intermediate level, which would be 2 semesters or like 1 year of English classes. And these would happen ideally on campus, but we can provide an online component. If a student scores more of a 6 or the advanced level, they would go into 1 semester or term of the English language program. And essentially, they're studying for 13 weeks within a term, and they're going to class from, say, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., 3 p.m. And they are with other students, so they're getting like language skill development, and they're working on like reading and writing and listening skills as it relates to progressing and essentially being prepared for the academic rigor of a university classroom. So we do different intakes for this program, but we will admit students based on what's fits for their undergraduate or post-baccalaureate diploma. So if a student is applying for January right now, because it's the only admissions open right now, and they have an IELTS of a 6, then we would admit them into our advanced level English program for January to April. And then in September, they would start their undergraduate program or post-baccalaureate program. We provide students with an acceptance letter to the EAP, the English program, with a conditional acceptance letter to the undergraduate program that they applied to. So a student would provide that for their study permit, and it would show that they're accepted essentially into two programs, the English for academic purposes with a conditional acceptance into their undergraduate degree, for example, for 4 years. So it could be like 4+1. Okay, and Brittany's going to go over the how to apply.
Yeah, so this is kind of the exciting part, is when we're encouraging students to apply. So we have an online application on our website. So if you're going to go help a student, you're going to go www.stfx.ca/apply. You'll see this screen on the right here. It shows the login. Students are going to create a login ID. So that's just a username and create a PIN. And that means that the student can log in and out of the application if they haven't fully completed it at any time. So you're going to apply online. The application typically has information, personal information, emergency contact, information about the school that they're coming from, the program they're applying to, and a few additional questions. And then at the end, you'll have the opportunity to pay the application fee. So for students who are using the undergraduate application option, there's a $40 Canadian application fee that you'll pay at the end. For any students who are applying to the post-baccalaureate programs or the master's programs, it's a $100 Canadian application fee. All of that's available at the end of the application. After you've successfully submitted that, we're going to request that you submit official transcripts. It's important that students submit something official, so student copies are not accepted. They'll need to contact their school and request that the school send an official transcript directly to St. FX. And that way we can ensure that the transcript is the most recent, it's valid, up to date. And once we receive that transcript, that's when we can start moving on the processing. So this is especially important for students applying to the MAX program. We do not accept any transcripts that are sent directly from the student, sent from just a professor, a student, an agent as well. So we do need the official copy. Without that, we won't be able to move forward with the application. So we'll just reiterate that part. There are sometimes cases where students can't get a copy. We encourage students to use WES if they're unable to get a copy. And they can work with WES to ensure that an evaluation is completed, and that evaluation will be submitted to us upon completion. Most of our programs are rolling admissions, like Erica mentioned earlier. So once a complete application is submitted, and that's the application, English proficiency test, official transcript, it's usually about a 2 to 3 week turnaround. And we do our best to keep within that timeline. Depending on the time of year, it might be a little bit busier, it could stretch to 4 weeks, but we'll do our best to keep that within the 2 to 3 week range. And for courses such as nursing or the Master of Applied Computer Science program, those are done in batches. So we talked about that earlier. Nursing would be after March 1st. And the MAX program we do periodically throughout the year under a schedule we follow, and typically once a month, there's a batch of applications that are assessed. So that's how the application works. So if you're working with students and you have any issues that you run into with the application, you can certainly reach out to us and we'll be happy to help support you through that application. We've also talked about January admissions. So while September is our traditional intake here at SUNYVEX, we do offer an option that's more limited for January. So this is available for programs that are more general, such as the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Business Admin, Bachelor of Science, and then we do have that accelerated nursing option that begins in January. So keep in mind that January is not traditional. So you are going to be arriving in January in Canada. If you're sending your students, keep that in mind. Make sure that they're prepared for a good old-fashioned Canadian winter. We do our best to ensure that the students get an orientation when they arrive, and that they're well supported upon arrival. So our international student advisor will be working with your students to ensure that they transition well into their courses. There are some limitations with the courses that are available during the January term, but we will ensure that they get registered into the courses that they need for their programs. There are opportunities for students to change programs within their degrees as well. So if a student applies in January for the Bachelor of Arts, but have an interest in getting into maybe the arts and science degree, they can apply to do a transfer and perhaps transfer in September. So those are options available. There's flexibility in our programs here. The deadline to apply for January is September 30th. And we do have entrance scholarships available, and we'll talk a little bit more about scholarships next. And then just keep in mind that we don't actually have any January starts for our graduate programs right now. The same would be said for our PPD programs as well. And that's a little bit about January. This is a timeline just for you to keep in mind. And we are, like Erica mentioned, we will have this slideshow available so that you can keep these dates in mind. But just to quickly run through, so we are going to open our application on October 1st for undergrad and graduate. That will be for September 2023. The deadline for students that I just mentioned, the deadline to apply for January will be September 30th. The scholarship applications that we'll talk about next, those are due by March 1st. So for major scholarships, there is a separate application, and the deadline to submit those is March 1st. Students will need to confirm their spot to be guaranteed a room and residence. So if you're working with students who want to live on campus, as long as they're confirming and paying that confirmation fee, they'll be guaranteed a room and residence by May 15th. The deadline for international applications for September is May 30th. So that is the deadline for the academic year. That deadline just passed not that long ago for our students. So we're no longer accepting any students for this coming September. But like I said, we'll open on October 1st for the next academic year. There's a residence deposit that's due in June on the 1st. And then we have our students here at the end of August or early September for international student orientation. So for this year, we've been asking students to arrive on the 31st of August, and then we'll get started on the international orientation programming on September 1st and 2nd. Then our domestic students arrive on the 3rd. And then they'll have a schedule of events that are happening, including some academic events as well as social, and September 6th is when classes start. So that's what the timeline looks like for this academic year and moving forward into the next year. And I'll pass it back over to Erica to talk to you about tuition and fees.
Thanks. So for our tuition and fees, we have them listed for 2022, 2023, so the upcoming academic year. I do realize that like the students you'll be recruiting throughout the 2022-2023 year will be starting in September or September 2023 or January 2024. So the tuition and fees will update in July typically of every year. So that's when you'll be able to have the fees for that 2024 or 2023 start date. So international student tuition for undergraduate programs and post-baccalaureate diplomas sits at around $19,300. And then we have additional fees, so like include Wi-Fi, like any student supports and assistance, their health insurance, so access to all their medical care when they're in Canada. That will come at around $21,000 Canadian per year. And if you have a student who wants to live on campus in residence would include the residence room and a meal plan. So meal plans are mandatory for living on campus. That can range on average like $13,000. So if you have a student who plans to study in undergrad, live on campus, they should really budget around 33 to 37,000 Canadian dollars per year. And again, those will increase for the 2023-2024 school year around July. For the course-based master's program, so specifically the applied computer science, tuition is around 15,300 Canadian dollars. Then you have your typical fees and health insurance. If you add on the residence and a meal plan, you're looking a little bit less, around $29,000 to $33,000 per year on average. If you have a student and they want to live off campus, then essentially you're just paying the tuition with the ancillary fees and the health insurance. And our tuition and fees for undergraduate and master's programs, we require 65% of tuition or the total cost of tuition and fees to be paid by September 15th. The remaining balance of 35% must be paid by January 15th. Students who miss payments or are late will be subject to interest on a monthly basis. And then students must pay their student countdown in full prior to the next academic year in order to be able to register in courses for July. And also, if a student does pay all their tuition in advance, if they're applying for the SDS study permit stream, then they can request receipts from our student account office so that they can provide those receipts with their study permit application to show that proof of payment. And we're talking about scholarships now, which I feel like is always a popular topic. For our scholarships are for the undergraduate programs only, so they do not apply to the post-baccalaureate diplomas or the Masters of Applied Computer Science. So the entrance scholarships that we would award to undergraduate students are available for all students when they apply. And an undergraduate student, I'm referring to specifically a student who's coming directly from high school or who is essentially not attended any post-secondary institution after completing high school. So when they apply for admissions, we'll evaluate their admissions based on meeting specific courses and minimum requirements. So if you're applying to sciences, for example, we would look at your English, pre-calculus math, 2 of those core sciences, and a 5th academic subject. That admissions average will also be the entrance scholarship average. So when a student gets an acceptance letter of acceptance from St. FX, they will also receive an entrance scholarship if they're eligible. So our entrance scholarships are at different increments. So $5,000, $7,000, and $12,000. And those are awarded over the 4-year degree. So if you receive a $12,000 scholarship, it's $3,000 renewable per year, with the caveat that at the end of each year of study, students must maintain an 80% academic average in order to renew their scholarship for the following year. But we also realize that sometimes that might not be possible in the first year, just with transitions and challenges or just adjusting to university life. So if a student did not achieve an 80% after first year, they do so in their second year, they can get their scholarship back. So they might miss it for 1 year, but it's able to renew a following year. And for any students who've attended post-secondary or are currently enrolled, I should say, so if they are planning to transfer directly from their current university or college to St. FX, then we will also provide a transfer scholarship that they can apply for. It is competitive, so we do have a limited amount to award to students each year, but it would be $2,000 for their first year of study. And we have major scholarships, so they are different than the entrance scholarships. Major scholarships are essentially a much bigger awards for students, and they come with an application, whereas the entrance scholarships are just automatically assessed and awarded. So students must apply to St. FX by March 1st, so March 1st, 2023 for the September school year. And major scholarships are only available for the September intake. And again, the scholarship eligibility is based on the same with the entrance, that we're looking for the 5 courses used to meet their admission requirements. If a student is currently enrolled in grade 12, then and they don't have an average available for a specific course by March 1st, then we would use the equivalent course from grade 11 in the interim, and everything is conditional upon submitting final transcripts. But really every year we give just under $1 million in major scholarships to international students. So there's a lot of money out there for students who are in high school and looking to get some pretty big scholarships to come to Canada. So here is just a short list of some that we offer. If you check out our website, you'll definitely see a more expansive list and details pertaining to each scholarship. But for example, we have the International Baccalaureate Scholarship that's available for students studying in the IB diploma. So we're looking for students to have grades 5 or above in each subject for admissions, and essentially 30 at the end of the day when they submit their final transcript. And we have $7,000 per year, so up to $28,000. For students applying to our School of Business, we have two different types of scholarships in the Schwartz School of Business. One is a National Scholars, which is open to international students. We give 4 away a year, and they're $80,000. So $20,000 a year, which like essentially almost covers tuition, which is pretty spectacular. And we did have an international student win that scholarship last year. So if you have some really keen students, like please make sure they apply for these scholarships. We also have the international scholars with the Schwartz School of Business at $32,000. And I believe we have like 14 of these scholarships to give away each year. And so we want students to apply for these scholarships. We want to give away this money. So if you have students interested in business, please send them our way. Then there's also like other scholarships here. If they have American citizenship, there's a $40,000 award, just a general Scotiabank entrance scholarship at $16,000. And then we also have these resident scholarships, which are available for students in their first year of study if they're going to live on campus. And $6,500, it's non-renewable, but we can actually match these resident scholarships with the entrance scholarships on the previous page. So essentially, if a student is applying to St. FX, they'll get their acceptance letter, say they get an entrance scholarship. Then they have until March 1st to apply for major scholarships, and we will be sending them information and instructions on how to apply for scholarships starting November 1st. And once they submit a complete application for a major scholarship, that would typically be like submitting their first semester grade 12 transcript, or in progress marks, or predicted grades, or even a final transcript, depending on their school curriculum and school year. We would need that transcript. They would also write a short essay question. Essentially, we're looking for students to show their critical thinking skills and individuality and personalization when it comes to responding to these questions. They also need to provide letters of reference. So typically from a teacher or a school counselor or a coach or an employer, preferably not their mom and dad, but someone that they work with and that they engage with on a regular basis. And so we have scholarship committees that evaluate all these scholarship applications, and then we will send out major scholarship awards to students by April 15th. And if a student receives a major scholarship, it will override the entrance scholarship they received. So they would just get the higher of the two. But we will be having a scholarship information session for you and all of your students to attend. It will be in January 2023. So we will just send out a save the date for now, but we will send you information on when it's going to be exactly, and you can share that advertisement with your students. And it will go over all the scholarships that we have at St. FX for international students and how to build a successful application. So essentially like reiterating how to write a short essay question, like how to personalize it, how to respond with like your analytical skills and critical thinking skills, and just making sure you're kind of checking off all the boxes to submit a solid application by the deadline. But there is a link to our website here. So if you're curious about the major scholarships that we have right now, you can check that out. All right. And
so I'm going to jump back in here. I always love this slide because it's showing one of the really great traditions here at St. FX. This is the X ring that our graduate or senior year students receive on December 3rd every year. So in the Feast of St. Francis, December 3rd, our senior students will receive this lovely gold X ring, one of the longest traditions here on campus and one of the most unique ones for each student, because the X ring, not only does it give a visual representation of the school that the student went to, but it means a lot to each student because it's a very different journey for each student. So a lot of our students, not only is there great memories proceeding through their program and progressing, but also just the things that they've done So if they got involved in leadership opportunities, the friends that they've met, the places they've lived, the professors that they've connected with, the opportunities that they've received just by being students here. That ring really represents all of those things to students. And our graduates proudly wear these rings all over the world. So a lot of these pictures represent students who have traveled, students who are living abroad, and we have one of the largest alumni networks in the world. And so we're instantly recognizable. And as a graduate of St. FX, it's really great when you travel somewhere and you meet somebody who has an X ring because it's an instant connection. So you can start talking to them about what program did you take? Where did you live? Did you have this professor? What did you do? And it's just an instant connection. And our graduates are really passionate about their experiences here, which makes it a really cool, unique tradition for all of our graduates. And our employers throughout the world are recognizing this ring as well, and recognizing that this is a very strong education, as is most of the educations that you would get here in Canada, because we're publicly funded institutions. You know that you're going to a school that has a very high quality of education being taught by really high quality professors too. So that's a little bit about the X-ring, and just going to wind down here. I know that we've been talking for quite a while, but we have so much to talk about when it comes to St. FX. So thank you for being patient. And just to end off, we like to just leave you with a few small but important statements about St. FX. So if you're going to remember a few things about St. FX, we want you to remember that we're personalized. So we're a small school. The classes are small. We have internationally recognized professors. It's a high quality education here in Atlantic Canada. And we really do care about your success. We're engaging, so we're going to welcome you with open arms. We're going to make sure that you transition here on campus. We're going to make sure that you're supported. It's a socially engaged campus as well. And keep in mind that we're professional. So we have all these work integrated opportunities and applied learning opportunities, both under the undergraduate and graduate level, and opportunities to get outside of the classroom and know that when you graduate, you are going to be a highly sought after student and future employee of many different companies throughout Canada and the world. And like I mentioned, you're going to join one of the largest, Canada's largest alumni associations. So those are the things that we like to leave on, and we'll just leave our contact information up here for everyone as well. I know that there's been questions throughout the chat, and both of us have tried to ensure that we have answered some of those, but certainly if you have more, we can chat now if people have time, and also we could be emailed directly as well.
I'm going to have to take over now. I think we've ran out of time. It's been in 1 hour and 15 minutes. Generally, 60 minutes is our upper limit for presentations, but I really appreciate that 50 people have stayed with the presentation to this point. There were a couple of very important questions that you already answered in there. So what I would recommend, if our partners can send questions directly to Achim, who can then disseminate it to you. But a few things that got answered is the Atlantic Province advantage for study permit and stay. If you can just spend 1 minute talking about the fast tracking of the after postgraduate work permit, what happens to students? And that's a question that has come to me indirectly. If we can just touch upon that. And second thing is, what is the percentage of international students at the university? And we're going to thank you everybody for being patient. If we can just spend 5 more minutes here. We have extended more time than we did, and the presentation was phenomenal. Like nothing was left untouched. So thank you so much for being so carefully orchestrated presentation that I don't think the questions were left unattended. So please do answer those 2 questions. I want to warmly thank you and thank all our partners who have joined us. And please, we will end at a positive note with you answering a couple of these questions. That percentage of international students, diversity in your international students, and the thing is the advantage to being in the Atlantic Province, which was covered quite a bit, but just highlighting those 2 points would be really appreciated.
Sure. I think, yes. Okay. Making sure I'm not muted there. So for the percentage of international students here on campus, we sit at about 5%. So it is on the lower side, which is a great opportunity for students who really want a Canadian experience here at St. FX. We're increasing our population of international students every year. Even through the pandemic, we have done really well to ensure that students are supported when they get here, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that they got here. But we are also putting additional funding into visiting different countries to amp up our recruitment. So we really want to make an effort to have more students here on campus, specifically international students as well. So like I said, about 5%. With regards to PR here in Nova Scotia, there is a fast track program, and forgive me, I can't speak directly to it. So Erica, jump in if you need to, but for our students, when they're studying here in Canada, the opportunity for the postgraduate work permit afterwards offers the availability to study for 3 years, I believe it is, here in Nova Scotia. And when you obtain that postgraduate work permit, it does give you additional points towards your application for permanent residency. And it is a stronger advantage than it can be in other provinces here in Canada. So we are one of the strongest provinces when it comes to obtaining your permanent residency and that pathway towards it. And Erica, I'm not sure if I missed anything there or.
Oh, I didn't realize I was not on mute anymore. So we also have a study and stay within Nova Scotia with the other Nova Scotian universities. So for students who are studying at St. FX, they can join this 1-year program where essentially we match them with employers based on the degree that they have and the field that they're interested in working. And they provide like cultural competency workshops and networking with employers and event sessions, essentially to get students together with employers so they can find potential job opportunities in the market in Nova Scotia. So that also helps students with kind of transitioning from university into the workforce in Nova Scotia based on what they're interested in working in connection with their studies.
Thank you so much. I think there are no questions. I was looking through there, and I want to, this is just a start. Our intent is to bring your 5% up to 10 would be the desired goal in the next little while. And if you think that's too much, please let me know. We do have a lot of interest. I am going to be traveling to Pakistan, India, Middle East in the coming 2 months, and then I am in Bangladesh and Middle East, and then I am in Bangladesh. Achim will be joining me, and then we are in Mauritius and all the Africa, and maybe Erica can join me in some of the Africa things also. You have been sent the 3 travel things. The agents also know that I'm coming. So please do know that St. FX is at the top of our list, and we appreciate amazing presentation. I'm going to have this shared with all the people who attended, and all of our team members will also get it. And Achim, please make sure that everyone who registered and was not able to join also gets this presentation. As I said, nothing was left untouched in this presentation, and something that people from other institutions could learn, that everything was given appropriate time, especially the scholarship component of it. So thank you. And with this, we will wish you all the best for Friday. Please have a good weekend. I'm here for my daughter's wedding in Ontario, so I will enjoy it for sure. And anything else would you like to say to the agents before we go, to our representatives?
I just wanted to say, like, on behalf of our international office, like, thank you so much for taking the time today to hear more about St. FX, and we're here to work together and support you. So thank you for listening and learning today.
Thank you so much. You're born teachers, by the way, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's really nice.
Thank you, Erica and Brittany, for a wonderful presentation. Thank you, all the agents, for joining in. Renu, I know you have a question, so I'll get in touch with you through email, because that's related to one of our specific students. So I'll get in touch with you. Don't worry.
God
Thank
bless
you, everybody.
Thank you.
All the best.
So much, Karuna,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Achim. Thank you, Achim. You are loved. You know that. I'll see you soon.
Yes, I'm excited. All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.